Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Seth.
I didn't know we were going to say our names. I'm Nick.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Seth.
I'm Nick.
Welcome to the first edition, or the first episode of this series. Basically, what we're going to do here is we're going to pick a film, and we're just going to talk about it. We wanted to do this for a while. Endless possibilities.
Yeah, we do a lot of quoting of films in real life, and we figured it'd be a good idea to just make a series where we can just talk about these films in detail and why we like them and maybe memories we have.
One particular movie for each one of these videos where we just kind of shoot the shit back and forth. So for our inaugural episode, we're talking about a classic and a favorite of both of ours. We're talking about Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Classic film.
Classic.
I think, it has that cult classic status at this point.
It does, and...
But I don't hear people talking about it.
No, I mean, it's definitely a well-known movie, but I don't know. You're right. It doesn't really get the chatter that it might deserve.
No. And I think it could just be the bizarreness of the film in general.
Yeah, and to me, that is... I don't know. It's a one-of-a-kind film.
Yeah.
I've seen it probably 100 times. Grew up watching it. There's just nothing like it.
No. Did you, you probably found it alongside how I did with the VHS.
Yes, well, growing up a poor Midwest boy, we didn't actually go out and buy VHS tapes. We would rig up the VCR, and when it was on TV, we'd record it. So my memories of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, I'd have to, fast forward through the commercials, but hey, I watched it on VHS.
Yeah, nothing's changed. You still do that?
No.
Rip stuff off online?
Not anymore. I've upgraded. Got myself a nice Blu-ray copy now of Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah, I feel like they could have done a little more with that Blu-ray, but I was happy to finally have it because that was a movie I'd been looking for forever.
Right. So Pee-wee's Big Adventure, 1985.
I remember those days vividly.
I don't. We weren't born then.
But I can't even exactly remember where I found this film. I think my brother had actually found it. I think his friend had shown him it, and
right.
just it found its way to me. Watched the VHS,
and of course, at this time, Pee-wee was already a popular figure from his Pee-wee's Playhouse show. Paul Reubens created the character of Pee-wee. Actually had a comedy show before he did Pee-wee's Playhouse. So this was the first movie, the first Pee-wee movie, and as we've already mentioned, it's a one-of-a-kind viewing experience, directed by
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton.
The one and only.
I like Tim Burton. I know he's got a stigma for being a strange guy, and I mean, he is.
Yeah, but can we be honest? Nobody else could have directed this movie, I don't think.
No, I don't know. It's so strange. I couldn't imagine a Pee-wee's Big Adventure that wasn't directed by Tim Burton. And I've seen the other Pee-wee specials. I saw Big Top Pee-wee, saw the movie on Netflix a couple years ago. And while they're fun in their own way, they're missing that bizarre tone that Tim Burton really showed in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Right. I watched a bit of Big Top maybe a couple years ago. I enjoyed what I saw, right. But it didn't have the same magic, the same charm, and quirky weirdness that this one does.
A one-of-a-kind film. Basic premise for those who haven't seen it. Pee-wee Herman. Pretty simple.
It is, yeah.
He's got this bike that he loves. It's really kind of a strange bike. He's obsessed with it. One day it gets stolen. This is Pee-wee's quest to find his bike, his big adventure to find his bike, and it takes him all over. It's a really good road trip movie, actually.
It is. It was actually, it was written by Paul Reubens and
Phil Hartman.
Phil Hartman.
Who was, a big part of the Pee-wee's Playhouse show. And,
he's in the movie as a reporter.
Yeah, and I always loved Phil Hartman. It's too bad what happened to him.
But they kind of based it on the movie Bicycle Thieves. It's like a satire. Except Pee-wee is obsessed with the bike, and the guy in Bicycle Thieves needs it to feed his family. So.
Right. So right off the bat, you get Pee-wee interacting with... It's weird because, these characters are like kids, but they're adults,
That's a good point. I never thought of it that way. I mean, Pee-wee, obviously, but everybody else around is almost like a child.
Right. I mean, Francis, who, that's right off the bat, that's one of the funniest scenes in the movie is when they collide on that corner and they're having that back and forth. But Francis, is like a 40-year-old, but he acts like it's like the character's this real kind of rich, snobby kid who can tell he just has everything in life, and
you cut to him taking a bath in a gigantic, like a totally oversized bathtub, playing with toys.
That is one of the funniest fucking scenes in the movie when he's like, the big sea monster in the bathtub, and he's like, blasting the ships and everything. So good. It's a film with a lot of memorable characters. You got Pee-wee, you got Francis, you got Mickey, you got Simone. Dottie.
I mean, and what's great about the ending of this film is everybody he was involved with throughout the story, he sees at the end.
Back together, yeah.
Yeah.
I also got to say, this movie features a great performance from Jason Hervey, Wayne from The Wonder Years, the asshole older brother.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, it's funny in this movie. It's actually, I don't know if it's a good performance or not. It's actually pretty over the top and stupid, but that's why we like it.
Funny, yeah.
Yeah, he's playing a little orphan boy on the movie set, and just so over the top, and you could tell he's like a little asshole child actor,
Yeah. I have been ready since first call.
I am ready.
You're ready whenever you are.
Doesn't it look like I am ready? I am always ready. I have been ready since first call. I am ready. Roll.
And then you've got Lynn Marie Stewart.
Yeah.
From the show.
Yeah, frequent collaborator on the show.
Ron.
Thanks. How come you're not wearing your pajamas?
Oh, I brought everything with me. I'm going to change later on into my hostess pajamas.
Can I watch?
I know her more from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia as Charlie's mom.
Yeah.
I can't do
Just get to the money part, all right? Just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
That was Charlie's line. Yeah.
But she's great in that short bit too. She's like fed up with his shit. She's like she's playing up the role. She's like, "Oh, Rusty, you are an inspiration to us all."
And right on cue, Pee-wee comes in from the side and grabs the bike and totally ruins the movie shot. And
I'll say.
So good. I also have to mention Dottie, portrayed by E.G. Daly, who's a famous voice actor of Tommy Pickles and all sorts of shit,
Oh, she was very fine in this film.
She's still a pretty good-looking gal.
I don't want to believe that Pee-wee is the kind of guy. Well, I guess he is, his character. But if a girl like Dottie's coming up to you, you're not turning her down.
Well, I don't know. It's because Pee-wee's like a kid. Yeah. It's capturing that sort of like innocence of childhood. You know what's something that always bothers me about Pee-wee is that there's this weird like stigma around him that like he got caught like messing with kids or something.
Yeah.
Never happened, folks. If you believe that Paul Reubens was molesting children, that never happened. He was actually caught in an adult theater, slapping it.
Yeah. Which is very different than what he was accused of.
It's kind of fucked up, but, he didn't mess with any kids. He's a good guy, as far as I know.
I know him. But, I mean, Paul Reubens has gone on and done some different roles. I mean, he's in Matilda.
In Blow. Johnny Depp, yeah.
I remember seeing him in Matilda after watching
Yeah.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and just him acting normal, it didn't
It's
feel
strange.
right.
It's strange.
It felt very odd.
Especially when you grow up watching Pee-wee, you think of him as Pee-wee, so when you see him doing anything else, it's kind of weird.
I never got into the show, though. Is that something that, like, nowadays I could appreciate?
It's very different. As we were talking about, Pee-wee's Big Adventure is so different than anything else Pee-wee related.
Yeah.
So, like, you have the series, which, I mean, if you like the Pee-wee character, there's stuff that's funny about the show, but in tone, I mean, it's totally different. It's totally different. I mean, this movie, it's all over the place. Like,
yeah.
It's a great... I love the road trip genre. I've already said that this is a road trip movie, but, I mean, this really is, like, one... God, I don't know. It's probably my favorite road trip movie.
It's easily in my top 50 of all time.
Yeah, me too. I love the film.
Yeah, it's just such a... I mean, moments. Like, what moments stick out to you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's the imagery is just like... There's certain scenes that have really stuck with me. you know, right before his bike gets stolen, he goes into that magic shop, which I always thought that was kind of surreal as a kid, just that whole vibe, and the guy working there, and it's really kind of dimly lit.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's showing him all these magic tricks and the shrunken head, and then, you know, how about normal size or whatever? It's just like...
And then it's a little bit of foreshadowing, too, because Trick Gum uses the Trick Gum later.
Right.
It's just... It's so unique because it mixes a lot of different things. You've got claymation animation with the large Marge face.
Yeah.
It's something that will never be duplicated, and...
Which that claymation scene that you just mentioned, that's kind of a... I don't know, it kind of goes hand in hand with like the Pee-wee's Playhouse show, because that show used a lot of claymation, so I like how they throw that in there. It's such a... I mean, I remember watching that as a kid, in that part when he's in the truck with Large Marge, and if you're watching that for the first time as a kid, you don't...
Terrifying.
You know, it catches you off guard when she kind of transforms really quick, and I don't know, it's a cool scene.
One thing that is kind of interesting and kind of bizarre, considering this was like one of Tim Burton's first movies, if not his first movie, was the amount of cameos in it.
Yeah, a lot of people.
You've got Elvira, she's in it. You've
Cassandra Peterson.
Yes. James Brolin's in it. Twisted Sister.
Dee Snider.
Milton Berle. It's just a laundry list of these names, and a lot of people from the show, from what I read.
Right.
Something just so bizarre, and I can't really blame people for if they don't like it, especially if they never saw it growing up.
I think that's one of those movies, if you're watching it for the first time when you're 30 years old, you're probably going to be like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
But if you grew up with this, which I feel like a lot of people did, I mean, people know about this movie, but I feel like if you're somebody that grew up with it, you love it, because it's just one of a kind.
It is.
You know, one scene that I love from the movie, and I always wanted to visit the filming location, I finally did, is when he stops at the truck stop after the Large Marge thing, and he's in the Cabazon Dinosaurs in California.
Yeah.
The big green... Is it green?
T-Rex. Yeah, it's a green T-Rex.
Yeah, I think it's green. But, you know, the big dinosaurs... that was so weird as a kid. It's like kind of, I don't know, it's super interesting because you're like, where is he? It kind of looks like this big sort of...
It looks like a made-up sort of place.
Yeah. So I always loved that part, just the whole kind of aesthetic of that at night. He's at this kind of dinky little truck stop restaurant, and then, you know, after he gets caught without having his money, he's got to go in the back and wash dishes to pay for his meal. Then he kind of breaks off with Simone a little bit and end up going up into the big T-Rex, which you still can do. It's still there.
Yeah.
So it's cool. We actually got to visit that, and it was really neat.
Luckily, we got to see it before they tore down the diner. The diner went down pretty close after we left.
Right. We were there, I think, probably right before it got demolished. So it was cool to be able to look inside the diner, and yeah, actually, I mean, it looks just like it did in the movie. It seemed like it hadn't been touched really since. So.
Yeah, we've been to a lot of places from the movie. I've been to the Alamo.
Yeah.
It's doesn't have a basement.
Hey, Jess, where's the basement?
There's no basement in the Alamo.
Can we talk about that Alamo scene, by the way, because how classic.
Tina.
Yeah.
Tina. By the way, I will mention that right before that scene, when he's in the alley,
Tim Burton
cameo.
Yeah, and then
we don't take too kindly to strangers.
And then Pee-wee does this weird sort of...
like, what? Who does that? What is that?
I don't know, but it's funny. I actually think that was all shot Universal backlot, I believe.
I can see it.
That's like a backlot shot. You can tell if you watch it. It's really... I mean, it looks pretty generic, but yeah, Pee-wee ends up navigating into this little fortune teller's house, and she rips him off. She's clearly looking at his wallet, and she sees something that says Alamo in the background and tells him, your bike, you need to go to the Alamo. So then, of course, Pee-wee makes his way there, and that's one of the funniest sequences in the movie. In this Alamo tour guide, what's the lady's name? Jan
Hooks.
Jan Hooks, who was the tour guide who actually just passed away a couple years ago. SNL.
She couldn't have been that old.
No, I think she had to have been sick or something, but she's great. It's a real kind of bubbly tour guide, and Pee-wee's kind of lumped in with these guys doing the authentic Alamo tour, and of course he's just worried about his bike.
It's just, I've seen this movie so many times, and there's little quirks to this movie that I reference, and I see, like, the guy in the background when they're doing the voiceover, they're like, Buenos dias. There's a guy in the background,
he's so
all
happy.
wide-eyed. He's
Yeah.
like, Buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
It's just when you can see a movie so many times and notice little details like that, it
Yeah.
brings a little bit more enjoyment out of it.
So, of course, at the end of the tour, she's like, any other questions? And he goes, yeah, where's the basement? Then he gets laughed at. I mean, it's just, that's such a good sequence.
Yeah.
It's just so funny.
At this time, I'd like to conclude our tour, and I mean it, y'all have been one of the greatest groups I have ever worked with, really. Okay, are there any questions? Yes.
Where's the basement?
Excuse me?
Aren't we gonna see the basement?
There's no basement at the Alamo.
As if it's some sort of known fact that, oh, there's no basement in the Alamo.
Right. So, I don't know. That's just a tad, just a small part of Pee-wee's quest to find his bike. And he also ends up, at the end of the film, in the Warner Brothers Studios, which is, right? You know, he's actually there. I mean, that's all from the...
There's a little shout outs to Godzilla. I don't know what the beach movie is, but
Yeah.
it's just like a...
It's like one of those old... It's making fun of like those old school, Frankie Avalon movies and
Yeah,
Annette
like-
Funicello and
Isn't
shit
there a
like
movie
that.
called Endless Summer or something
Yeah,
like that?
something like that. But yeah, Pee-wee's basically running throughout this entire Warner Brothers, backlot, and he's in all these different sets, and it's great.
I mean, growing up, his room, you wanted his
Oh,
room.
yeah.
His house, his whole house in general.
His room is awesome at the beginning, and then the whole breakfast contraption.
Yeah.
So good.
It sets up the sort of tone that the movie's going to have.
Yeah.
This weird, quirky sort of tone that the whole movie has.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
house, been to the house.
Yeah.
Obviously doesn't look like it did in the movie.
No, it's just, I mean, it does, but it just doesn't have all the lawn ornaments that Pee-wee's rocking in the film.
We have to talk about a little bit the end. So you go through this whole journey with Pee-wee.
Right.
They want to make a movie out of it. It's
Yeah.
got to be some sort of satire towards Hollywood in general. How
Right.
they always want to make a movie out of something.
Right.
You have James Brolin
Yeah.
playing Pee-wee, and then you have Morgan Fairchild playing Dottie. And these like, you can tell that they tried to make it a tone of an action movie
Right.
for something that is just obviously not
Goofy.
actiony.
Yeah.
And then Pee-wee's in the background of the scene,
Yeah.
and he's given like a scene-stealing performance.
He's like the bellhop or whatever.
When he's not supposed to be. They give him this deep voice. Paging Mr. Herman.
So
Mr.
good.
Herman. It's just little things like that little touches.
Paging Mr. Herman. Mr. Herman, you have a telephone call at the front desk.
You mentioned that you watched Big Top,
Yeah.
and Pee-wee's Big Holiday. One of the things that I will say that I liked about Big Holiday was the reuniting of Simone
Yes.
and Pee-wee.
I wish she would have been the Simone character.
I
though.
wish that too, because when I was watching it, I was
Right.
questioning. She looks like Simone. Is that her?
Yeah.
And it was just a little thing for the fans, and it was
Yeah.
the little bit I needed from that film
Right.
to help me enjoy it a little more.
Yeah, and Pee-wee, Paul Rubens tends to use people that were in the show and in his movie. He kind of has like a core group that appear in a lot of things that he's, involved in. So that was really cool. Too bad we couldn't get an appearance from Andy, who I think that actor passed away, but that's also another great part of the film.
Yeah.
After, Simone's boyfriend Andy catches him in the T-Rex, he's chasing him around with his big dinosaur bone. It's just, it's so
And
good.
It becomes a bit of a subplot too, because while Pee-wee's chasing his bike, he's being chased by Andy throughout Texas.
Yeah. So what else can be said? I mean, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, we wanted to start this series off with a movie that we both love, and,
It's a cult following.
Yeah, it's kind of a cult film. It's, I don't know, I've said it like 10 times, I'm repeating myself, but it's just unlike anything else. It's a fantastic, fun film. I love it.
I love it too. Like I said, top 50 of all time.
It's a great, great comedy. Let us know down below what you think of Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Do you share the same love for that film that we do? Because I know me and him are like always talking about Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It's one of those things that just randomly comes up all the time in our conversations.
And I think watching Pee-wee sort of... It kind of formed my sense of humor that I have.
Oh, yeah.
Just a weird,
Yeah.
quirky sort of off-the-wall comedy.
Right. It's so good. So let us know. Do you like the movie? And if you like this series, give us some recommendations. We wanted to do this because the possibilities are infinite. We can just talk about any movie. So any ideas, let us know. That being said, thank you guys for watching. See ya.